Welcome to Entrepreneurs Unlimited with Mark Haney on KHTK Sports 1140 and HaneyBiz.com. Mark is a well-known local entrepreneur who has a passion for growing companies and uncovering the stories of other successful business people. Mark will share his and their experiences and hopes to ignite the entrepreneurial spirit within you. And now, here's Mark Haney.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Show 3, Entrepreneurs Unlimited. I'm Mark Haney, and we have a great show today. We've got Jessica Winkelhausen, the totally in-shape owner of Winks Fitness Studio, and we have Joshua Wood. Joshua is the CEO of Region Builders, and he's right smack dab in the middle of all the growth and all the cool things that are happening in development here in Sacramento. And if you listened to last week's show, you heard Kevin Nagel talk about David and Goliath and that story and how he often feels like he's David. And it's interesting to think about if you're an entrepreneur and you're feeling like maybe you're smaller than some of the big guys, how that feels. And maybe there's a way that you can turn that into an advantage for yourself. So if you're interested in that kind of story, go to HaneyBiz.com, listen to our podcast, watch the YouTube, again, HaneyBiz.com. Hear Kevin Nagel talk about how he built his $5.5 billion company right here in Sacramento. But now we're going to talk about some things that are happening here in Sacramento. And a lot of times people think about how do they create an opportunity for themselves. And we all know that you create your own opportunities, whether it be sports, in business, or in life. And here in Sacramento, and in the greater Sacramento region, I think maybe we're facing some opportunity. In real estate, I've got a real estate company, and so often they say the three most important things in real estate are location, location, location. And then you hear other people talk about timing is everything in life. Well, maybe right now in Sacramento, we're facing kind of a perfect mix of great timing, the right place to be at the right time. And here to help us understand that better is the CEO of Region Builders, Josh Wood. How you doing, Josh?
Good. Great to be here.
I am so glad you are with us. You are right in the middle of everything here in Sacramento, whether it be business development at the larger scale and also the things that drive entrepreneurial opportunity right here in the region. So Region Builders, can you give us an overview of what Region Builders is?
Yeah, Region Builders is a business organization, a coalition of 15 different organizations and then members at large from the commercial, industrial, and building industry. And our goal and our vision is what can we do to advance regional economic growth. Now, while it's primarily formed from the building industry, it's expanded to be much beyond that because at the end of the day, it's about creating jobs that help elevate our economy.
Okay, you talk about growth, and so many times, there's both sides of the fence. There's growth, and people love growth, and then other people aren't as excited about growth. As entrepreneurs, we kind of like growth. How does growth help entrepreneurs? How does growth help the region?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, growth is just the expansion of opportunity. In order to build new buildings, to put new businesses in, you have to have new areas to build. I mean, it's just that simple. You can only constrain so much and build up so much, and the economics on those types of projects only work so much. So it's all about how you expand smartly and how you lay the infrastructure in order to help support those developments. So one, it's about growing out, but it also is about growing up, and we've seen that downtown now with the new development projects like Sacramento Commons and some of the other tower projects which are going to help elevate Sacramento by changing our skyline.
Okay. Now, as CEO of Region Builders, you are right in the middle of that. Give us an idea of what you do to help influence that growth and help shape what's going on.
Yeah, well, Region Builders is looking at what are the policies and projects across this region in the 6 counties that can help elevate Sacramento. For us, we don't want to just be a destination between the Bay Area and Tahoe. And we see Sacramento as the capital of the 7th largest economy in the world, as a place that can really help lead and have a lot of focus on business. And so what we try to do is look at what are some of the signature projects that can help kind of spur economic growth, whether that's the rail yards, the Kings, the the connector. There's a lot of big projects and things that help really spur and create more jobs. But we're also looking at what are some of the policies and things that we can help advance on one end, whether that's a one-day permitting program that we're working on, or whether that's fee reductions and other things in order to help spur investment. But at the same time, we're playing defense. We are in one of the most regulated places in the nation. California loves to regulate, and the local governments not only have to respond to those regulations, but they have to implement their own. And then so we're all the time playing defense, and that could be whether that's on minimum wage or all these other issues. How do they play into the overall strength of our economy?
You have definitely brought up some issues, hot topics for entrepreneurs. There's plenty to talk about, but before we dive into any of them specific, give us an idea of how did you get into Region Builders? How do we? What's your path to Region Builders, and give us your background a little bit.
Yeah, well, my background, I actually grew up in a place called McLeod, a small little mill town up north, and the mill shut down during my junior year of high school and basically killed the town, and it was all in response to the state regulations dealing with the spotted owl. So I firsthand saw how bad government regulation had completely impacted negatively an economy. And so I moved down to Sacramento, went to Sac State, and ended up working at a public employee labor union. And at that point in time, you're going through school and you keep getting a drill in your head about how things are supposed to be, and there's a certain perspective that's taught. And then I got to go from there to working for a conservative Republican inside the building. And I got to really see, I think, kind of on the inside, those two perspectives and how they play out. And for me, while I think that there are definitely some really important things that labor does, what I felt was that we were completely missing the boat on what we can do as far as helping business succeed and thrive, and just the huge impact that had by exponentially down the line when you create jobs and the opportunities that creates to help elevate the economy, but also people who are in lower social economic status for them to move up. Okay.
And so you come on board, the Builders Exchange, and you build out Region Builders. And I think you got the model, if I'm not mistaken, you had developed this model as something that was done similarly in the Phoenix area?
Yeah, so that's actually a program that we're working on. But
okay.
what Region Builders we decided, let's put our money where our mouth is, and let's get all these groups together that are together on their own kind of small, but together can be the largest business group in the region. And we've become that. We're by far the largest business political group in Sacramento. And what can we do to then look at policies and projects? So we basically established that group. And we founded Region Builders in July of 2012. And since then, there's been a lot of big accomplishments we've been able to do by really just sticking to the basics, playing hardball and fighting for the things that are good for business. And one of those things is, as you mentioned, Phoenix, looking around the nation, what are the best programs and policies, economic models in other areas, and how can we go out across the nation, find what works, and bring it here? So instead of exporting what California does wrong, let's import what some of the other places do right.
You mentioned the term hardball. I look forward to hearing how we can play hardball here in Sacramento. There's a lot of us that grew up in this town and in the area, and we absolutely want to see it grow. And so we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into the specific issues that you talked about. We're going to talk about the Sacramento Kings. We're going to talk about the growth in the rail yards, how it affects the entire Sacramento region. I'm Mark Haney. You're listening to Entrepreneurs Unlimited on KHTK Sports 1140 and HaneyBiz.com.
Welcome back to Entrepreneurs Unlimited with Mark Haney on KHTK Sports 1140 and HaneyBiz.com. Brought to you in part by 5 Star Bank and Silvers HR. Now, here's Mark.
Welcome back to Entrepreneurs Unlimited. I am here with Josh Wood, CEO of Region Builders, and we are talking about development here in the Sacramento region. And specifically, we touched on why people might want to invest here in Sacramento. And I have to think that the Sacramento Kings remaining here in Sacramento had to be a huge turning point for the psyche of the public and entrepreneurs in the region and the people that want to invest into this region. We had Waste Management, you mentioned earlier, had left the region, and others contemplating that. And with the Kings staying here, that I think has given increased confidence to those of us that want to invest here in Sacramento. So tell us what happened, and if you think how you think that's affected the region.
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of what you said as far as Blue Diamond. If you look at it, Sacramento had gotten to a point where it was just used to losing. You know, whether it was on the court or outside the court in economic issues, we're losing company day after day, big ones, leaving this region, going to other places that are better. And what we had is a group of people who all came together and said, of course, led by the mayor, how do we save this team and save these jobs? The stadium that we had, the arena that we had, just wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to meet the NBA standards, and we had to find a new solution in order to expedite a project in the worst place to build. And it was going to be impossible. But what we did is the mayor went out and he built this coalition. We were honored to be part of it at the beginning, where it was the Here We Build Commission, and we got all these people, 72 together, and figured out how do we save this project. And we created a plan to put it downtown and a new development downtown and how it was all going to roll out. And at the same time, you've got the ownership, the current ownership, who was being extremely unhelpful. They'd already tanked measures Q and R, which was the way that we had actually solved before how to fund the stadium. And so we were in a position where our backs are against the wall, the NBA timeline, the clock is ticking, and Sacramento delivers, finally. And we go and we present, the mayor presents a plan to the NBA that works, and we save the team. There's this huge moment of jubilation, and then the other shoe drops. You have Chris Hansen from Seattle, the guy who wanted to bring the Supersonics back there, billionaire, funnels illegally money into a local group called the Stop Campaign, which was led by some local activists, in order to do a ballot measure to basically defund the arena. Now, he did this secretly and no one knew. And so one day I walk into the grocery store and I see people outside collecting signatures to take the arena off the ballot. Now, being from a political background, you don't collect signatures unless you're putting down deposits of like $40,000 to $60,000. So we knew right away, this is funded and this is dangerous. So what we did is we put together a coalition. We led it called downtownarena.org. And we went out and we started telling people about the lies of what was going on. Little did we know where the money was really coming from. But one day, we were sitting in our office and we had people who had helped collect signatures before. We were like, you know what? I know I get paid to collect signatures, but I love this city and I want us to have this team, and this is good for Sacramento. And they had been paid by the other team, by the Stop Campaign, in order to collect signatures to kill the arena. And then the news report comes through that the Stop Campaign says, oh, we don't have to report any money because we haven't spent any money. While in front of me are two people who have paychecks that they've collected, and then we knew we had something.
Wow. Now, when someone does something so underhanded, what ends up being the reaction? Obviously, you guys rallied around and built a coalition, but just you're there courtside in this drama. And how did that play out in terms of the personalities? Does Kevin know the people up in Seattle? Where since he's so involved in basketball.
Well, at that point, I think his focus was still on working with the NBA, finalizing the deal. And so what we did is we stepped into that role of focusing full time on how do we stop the Stop Campaign. And you're right. Once the public knew that the Stop Campaign was just a vassal for Chris Hansen in Seattle and that he had illegally funded money, we went out and we did something that no one's ever done. We started what's called a petition withdrawal campaign, so you could remove your name. And we were able, as a coalition, to collect the most petition withdrawals from any ballot measure in California state history.
Wow. So the Kings staying here in Sacramento was monumental. It was huge. Besides Seattle, was there any other constituencies that were against the Kings staying here? Were there other people here locally that were kind of anti-growth?
Actually, It was the Stop campaign. I mean,
Okay.
really, that's what happened is you had this alliance of a billionaire from another place who wanted an arena and local activists who've opposed every project. Now, this group is a group of people. They opposed fixing the Memorial Auditorium. They opposed Streetcar. They opposed the arena. This is what they do. They oppose projects. They say that they want green development, but when there's green developments, they oppose those too. That's just what they do. They oppose stuff for a living. But what we wanted to see is Sacramento move forward. And people have to understand the arena wasn't just about basketball, and it wasn't just about elevating Sacramento. It was about $11.5 billion of economic activity and 4,000 jobs.
So the Kings staying here is huge from an economic standpoint. It's not just about us basketball fans. It's about growth for entrepreneurs. It's about building things. Give us a sense as to what the confidence level is now in the business development community. Are people thinking, wow, let's build something, and we're seeing a lot of investment coming in? And besides the Kings, why would somebody want to invest here in Sacramento?
Well, it had a catalytic impact. It really did. If we look at Sacramento now, I mean, I'll give it an example. I think that's probably the best way to do it, is just one of my members that I work with. They had a property downtown, a small one, near the arena site. The day after the announcement, they have 9 calls from outside investors who wanted to buy the property and develop it in one day. Wow. And that shows you just the kind of interest, not only for how do we get local investment and dollars into these projects and help elevate and create things for Sacramento, but now we're actually bringing in new money from other places that is interested and put Sacramento on the map. And so that's just one example, but it's been catalytic. If you look, there's so many different developments around the arena, and in my opinion, that's why the rail yards is now moving forward. And we're talking about maybe MLS and World Food Center. And we're talking about Kaiser there. At the same time, you've had development now along our street corridor and Broadway. It's basically an engine that just started, and West Sac's benefiting from it. Everyone's benefiting from it, and not only do we have this development downtown now, but it's put the region on the map in another way. And now now you're seeing these outside companies looking at, well, what can we do in Roseville? What can we do in Elk Grove, Rancho Cordova, West Sac? And it just the list goes on. And it's all because Sacramento put ourselves on the map the right way. People talk in business, and they want to go to a place where things can get done.
Yeah. It's amazing how one investment, one big win can spark growth in different areas. I have a buddy that's building a venture capital fund, or he's increasing the size of his fund, and it's going to be about investment here in Sacramento. And it's amazing that the Kings are actually a part of the slide deck, and the fact that we have the Kings and we have the growth that it's associated with that downtown area. And I'm just thinking about the people investing in that fund and the confidence that has been developed in wanting to put money right here in our backyard. And so I'm wondering what kind of businesses are best to try to attract. We're here at the front doorstep of the Silicon Valley. What kind of businesses do you think are most likely to want to invest here? Who's coming?
Okay, well, let me tell you who's not coming. One of the mistakes that Sacramento has made often is we look to the Bay Area or other places and try to figure out how do we get their businesses here. And while we can do some attraction, Sacramento is never going to be the Silicon Valley. We don't have the proximity to it in order to make that work. But what we do have is biomedical research. If you look at UC Davis and you look at the hospital networks that we have here, and especially being so in such proximity to the Capitol, we have the ability to help attract research here. And whether that's with Davis at the university out there, or the new research places and things that are going in downtown, or now the new Davis Innovations Project, which is going to be a huge master plan development of like 800 acres of all of these different developments right outside the university area between Davis and Sacramento, where we're seeing new interest in biotech investment research.
You have small children. I've got grandchildren now, and we always think, what are they going to be doing, in 10, 15, 20 years? What kind of occupations are going to be most lucrative or have the best opportunities? And so what do you for your you have 4 small children? What are they going to be doing as they start getting out of college and entering the workforce? What do you think is there a way that we ought to be thinking about steering our, this next generation?
Yes, it actually always goes back to the fundamentals. Science, math, reading, all those basic skills. It's about not just about having them mastered at the basic level, but actually at a higher level. Engineers are always going to be needed in this region as we tend to grow, and now we're looking at, and that doesn't have to just be, construction related. It can be mechanical. There's a lot of different areas. Also, if I was looking at, and we've dealt with a lot of young individuals that we try to mentor as part of what we do with Region Builders and training. We probably last year had like 40 people come through our the programs and things that we do. The one thing that I've seen that a lot of our youth are lacking is just that ability to communicate in a way that's professional, be able to look someone in the eyes and be able to just work hard. It's actually the fundamentals that hurt us more, because frankly, these kids are brilliant. Their ability to use technology and all these things are wonderful. It's just about being able to connect on that human level in order for them to advance. So I think that's probably more of an American issue than it is of a local issue. But employers are looking for what are the best trained people in the world. And now we have the expansions and things that are going on with Sac State. We've got, while Drexel moved, we have, new universities going into that site. You have Davis expanding. It's all about how do we grow our educational infrastructure so that we can attract jobs and make Sacramento attractive to young professionals.
Wow. Sounds like education and the fundamentals are a key to taking our region to the next level and making the most out of the opportunities that are right here in front of us in the Northern California region. I'm Mark Haney. We'll be back in just a minute. We're talking with Josh Wood. We're going to talk a little bit more about regulation and the things that he's doing to influence that in our region. Again, Mark Haney, Entrepreneurs Unlimited. We'll be back in just a minute.
Welcome back to Entrepreneurs Unlimited with Mark Haney on KHTK Sports 1140 and HaneyBiz.com. Brought to you in part by Owen Dunn Insurance and Greenberg Traurig Law. Once again, here's Mark Haney.
Welcome back, and we are here with Josh Wood, CEO of Region Builders. And Region Builders is very influential in shaping government regulation. We've talked about how that can affect the growth here in Sacramento. And as entrepreneurs, when we want to do something, we want to do it now. We want to get it going right away. We don't want to go through a bunch of red tape and, government processes. You are working on something called a one-day building permit in the region. Can you give us a sense as to what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a program called Permit Simplicity. And what it is, it's actually a program that we found from the city of Phoenix. And again, we talked earlier, we want to import what are the good ideas from other places. And this program, essentially in Phoenix, is a way that you certify certain individuals in order to be able to get one-day building permits. There's a little shift in liability that happens with the jurisdiction and a bunch of technical things. But in its very basic form, what it means is a business can decide to locate in this region and build its office the next day.
Wow.
That's what we need to be able to have if we want to be able to compete with Texas and Arizona and all these other places. And in Phoenix, this program has grown exponentially. In the first year, they had about $2.5 million of projects go through it. Last year, $300 million. Every year, it goes up very clearly, very quickly. And that's just the city of Phoenix. That's not even talking about all the surrounding cities that are now joining that. And so what we wanted to do is, how do we bring that program here? And so we did some local customization for it to fit around the California laws and regulations. It's passed. And now we've got it in Elk Grove, we've got it in Rancho Cordova, we have it in Yolo County, and we're talking to the cities Lincoln and Sac City, we're talking to Stockton, we're talking to places all across the region, trying to figure out how do we get this program in place, because it's a complete rebrand. If you want to build in California, most developers from out of the area are like, they get heartburn, right? And there's that, like you said, there's that decisiveness of wanting to move forward and to build. And now being able to have that tool to offset the brand of this region and say, yes, we can get it done in a day. It's a different world.
And even if you're not a big-time developer, you just want to open up another office and you need to do some tenant improvements. Sometimes that takes months to get something through, and it really slows down the process, and you're ready to open up now, but you've got to go through all this red tape. So this thing isn't just for the big time developers. This is for guys that want to open up a second juice company.
Oh, absolutely. This is actually primarily targeted for those types of tenant improvements and those kind of businesses where you just want to move in, get something going and started. You need some office space. It's such a barrier to entry when you have to wait 90, 180 days in order to open an office for a business that may not be that profitable at first. I mean, and that's what we have to understand is most businesses who are starting, their big gap is profit and turnaround time. And if we can help resolve that by creating a simpler permitting process that's cheaper and faster, especially one day, I mean, it's huge for this region. And we have to do that because we're competing globally, and then we're competing across this nation with places who do get that done.
That's great. I love that. Now, you guys influence in so many ways. I know there's elections that are coming up next year, and you guys have things that you're doing to help promote growth in the area. What are you thinking in terms of influence for this next election cycle?
Yeah, well, I can tell you right now, 2016 is going to be an election year. You have what's called a contested presidential election because of you don't have an incumbent, which drives a huge amount of voter turnout. So it means anyone in the political industry, that's when you get your measure on the ballot because people are more likely to vote yes. It's just how it works. It's a science. And so you're going to see, the passage of just not medical marijuana, just the legalization of marijuana will be on the ballot. You're going to see a statewide measure for minimum wage. You're going to see locally a Sacramento sales tax in order to create transportation infrastructure investment. You're going to see also a local minimum wage effort. I mean, there is going to be things across the board. Probably every school district in this region will have a $300 million plus school bond.
So minimum wage is a hot topic and something that affects entrepreneurs every day. How does minimum wage influence the growth of entrepreneurship in the region? Is it a good thing? What are the different sides of that?
Well, it's actually a super complicated issue because it's not just about for jurisdiction looking at raising their minimum wage as far as what number they pick, right? You're looking at, well, does it increase on an index every year? Do you include people who are tipped because they get a lot of money above that minimum wage, or salespeople on commission? I mean, this is a very complicated issue, and what's happened is a lot of jurisdictions have kind of ham-handedly gone in and try to just create something that sounds great that doesn't work. And you look at whether it's Seattle or now in California along the coast, you've got, the Bay Area, San Francisco, you've got Oakland, Emeryville just raised their minimum wage to $16 an hour. And so we're looking at Sacramento, the whole state's moving to 10 next year. How is this going to impact us if Sacramento politicians look at Emeryville or San Francisco at 15 or San Jose and say, oh, well, we need to do that too? We can't be competitive because no one in the entire Central Valley from Redding to Bakersfield has raised their minimum wage. So we have to look at if this is going to be what happens because that's where the politicians are going, how do we minimize the potential damage that could happen to our economy?
Yeah, and I could just almost feel the entrepreneurs coming through we don't have the phone lines up, but thinking that please don't control me. Don't control what I pay my employees. How do I create more opportunity if I'm handcuffed? I don't know if that's something that you guys are considering.
Yeah, we've been working with a lot of business groups and business owners, and that's the story. The story is I'm barely making it now. If people I hire on minimum wage, if they're any good, they end up getting raises anyways. So really what we're talking about is if they're getting paid that, they're getting paid that for a reason. And so are you basically telling me then, should I just lay them off? I mean, we've looked at, in some of the other places like San Jose, a huge increase when you look at like the fast food industry and other industries in automation, as in you're not going and talking to a person, you're going and pushing and ordering on a screen because they're removing people in order to basically pay the larger wage to just a few. And so what we're talking about is you could give someone a raise and cut a job.
Yeah.
And so what do we want to be about? And again, it goes back to how are we branding our region? So the unions right now are looking at getting this passed in the city of Sacramento, the city of Elk Grove, West Sac, Davis. These are all the places that they've been talking about. And so there are places in this region they know that they can't pass it, but in those places that really define a lot of what our brand is as a region, they're looking at doing it. And our worry is that if it's not done right, it could make Sacramento completely uncompetitive. And again, we want to play offense. What can we do to import the right stuff? Not how do we handcuff ourselves.
Yeah. Very interesting. So as we look forward to the election cycle and the growth of Sacramento, give us a sense as to where are you putting most of your effort these days? When you get up in the morning, I know you're like a 60 to 90 hour a week guy. You work your tail off. And where is Josh Wood going? Where are you taking this Sacramento area?
Well, that's a great question. Well, what's next right now is we're going to be pushing this one-day permit because we want to play offense. But we're also working on another project, what's called the Capital Southeast Connector, that runs from Elk Grove through Rancho Cordova, through Sacramento County, through Folsom, all the way to El Dorado Hills. It's basically turning Grant Line into another freeway. And what does that do? That helps create jobs because then you're going to have developments all along that parkway, 35 miles of development. And again, new growth creates jobs. It's already a road there, but we're going to be reducing congestion and creating jobs. There's been an economic impact report that was done by Sanjay Varshney from Sacramento State, and his report showed 25,000 jobs that will be created from just the creation of this road because of all the new development that will go along it. That's a huge economic impact. To put that in perspective, the arena was 4,000 jobs.
And wow. And those jobs obviously go hand in hand with entrepreneurial opportunity and building something, chasing your dreams. Where is Josh Wood? What are your dreams for the future for you personally, Josh? You've got the 4 little kids. You've got a great family. You're a young person right here in the community. Where are you taking your career from here? You're so ambitious. Where can we expect to see you down the road?
You can expect to see Region Builders growing as we expand what we do to try to help, again, brand this region as a better place to do business. And so that's where my efforts have been, is how do we grow this organization in a way where when we're fighting to bring in new things or fighting to stop things, it's not even a fight anymore because we have the political infrastructure to have all the businesses lined up together and saying no to the stuff that's not good and yes to the things that we should try. That's it. At the end of the day, it's about putting points on the board and more points than the other side puts on.
Josh Wood, speaking the truth on Entrepreneurs Unlimited, putting more points on the board. We appreciate everything that you do, the influence that you bring to help our community, to help our entrepreneurs. I'm Mark Haney. When we come back, we will be talking to Jessica Winkelhauser, the awesomely tone-fit builder of a local wellness studio with a really interesting twist. I'm Mark Haney. We'll be back in just a minute.
Welcome back to Entrepreneurs Unlimited with Mark Haney on KHTK Sports 1140 and HaneyBiz.com. Brought to you in part by Stifel Financial and Package One. Once again, here's Mark Haney.
Welcome back, and we have a special treat. We have Jessica Winkelhausen, the owner of Winks Fitness and Wellness Studio. And Jessica, if I could describe you, it would be as a go-getter. You obviously are in tremendous shape physically. You're working out all the time, but you've got a lot of things going. Talk to us a little bit about what you're doing with your wellness studio. You have a really unique approach. I wanted to learn more about it.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, Mark. Really glad to be here. Winks Fitness and Wellness Studio was, it started after losing my mom to breast cancer, and I endured a lot of pain emotionally and went through severe depression, and it just wasn't a common language that people spoke, so I went through that, and it was a really dark time for me. And so after interviewing a lot of spiritual coaches, Buddhas, I learned that I was just actually making a shift internally. And once I started talking about that to other people, I started to learn that others had gone through or were going through the same thing. So at my studio, not only do we work out and focus on weight training, but we do journal writing on topics that inspire or make us think. And then on Mondays, do motivational Mondays with the quotes like I had given you.
Yeah.
So it's just a different approach. It's like, it really is body, mind, and spirit.
So who would be, in terms of a client, who would be most attracted to that? Because I could see as a business owner, somebody that's got a ton of stress, maybe has all kinds of crazy things happening in their life. They come in there and they become grounded. What kind of people are attracted?
You know, I get the everyday person. I get a lot of moms, but I do have a lot of prestigious business owners and CEOs in town, plastic surgeons, people that are in the leadership role that they don't necessarily get to have that moment in their day where they get to be weak. And so they come in and it's a common language. We all have fear we're walking through. We all have things going on at home. We all have these situations that we don't feel like we can talk to or people won't relate or they'll judge us. And so the journal's kind of a soft place where they can write it down and let it release from their system and then restart and set their intentions for how they want the rest of their day to go.
So percentage-wise, how much of it is the physical side? Because obviously it's a health club and there's tremendous competition out there in building a health club. You've got all these big box fitness studios, and yours is a very boutique-oriented and it's got a lot of value added. How does that? How do you compete? What kind of percentage is geared toward the mind?
You know, a big portion of it is towards that. And I don't try to compete with it. It's now just word of mouth because it's something that I did for so long on the side. It kind of built its own life. The bigger part of what's happening now is the launch of the everydaywink.com, where I actually get to touch people worldwide. I didn't have a tool before where I would get all these emails that came in. I wouldn't know how to service them. And so now at everydaywink.com, there's actually a spiritual package you can buy. There's, the physical package, but there's ways in which I can give back the services that I started in the platform here.
Oh, very interesting. So your knowledge that from building this business, you're able to share that. Now, if I get onto your website, what am I gonna get?
Yeah, you get the background, the short version that I gave you in regards to just kind of opening up and sharing my struggles in my past and how where I'm at today. And, it's facilitating a journal writing. That's something that I can do online. Okay. And so the check-in process so that I can actually feel like these clients can relate to me is I have it set up where Facebook allows you now to have private pages and I can interact that way and do a Q&A and give journal topics so that they are staying accountable to that. But the team environment's really good. So when you set that up and people are able to connect that are on a common language and live life the same, that's really where I think the business, why it thrives.
It's interesting. You think about, we talked about David and Goliath earlier and how a small company competes with these bigger companies, and you're finding a way to do that. You're being creative and you're figuring out a way to scale your business through the use of the internet, and I'm assuming social media and so on. Is that where you see taking your business long term, or opening more branches?
I would like to open a branch in Nashville. My best friend lives back there. I do some traveling back there and do some fit seminars in Nashville. But in regards to touching people and motivating the masses, it's the World Wide Web and being able to use social media is the place to do it. And having a website like I do where I can actually now go on site. So I have a product manager that helps me facilitate, and we're going to launch a book. And so I'll be able to travel and actually meet people in these cities where we see the biggest return on what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. So you were prompted to do something entrepreneurial, and it stemmed from a tragedy, personal tragedy in your family. What do you think motivates most entrepreneurs? What are people thinking in terms of, I'm coming into your studio?
Yeah, I think the motivation sometimes does come from a pain body, like they don't want to sit there anymore. They're just not sure how to get out of it. I think there's some that's motivated by money and they want to make money. They sit in a place where they see how much they make for someone else, because I've been there too. So part of mine's that as well. I've worked really hard for other people and I get a little bit of return. And then I think a lot of people, they don't know really what to do with their life, but they have a passion. And so they're trying to figure out if they get to use the passion or if they have to work that 8 to 5 job. So I work with people, I feel like they're somewhere in between.
Okay.
All of that, So it's pretty interesting. It's so different. Everyone's so different in regards to like what's driving them.
And you're involved with helping realtors. I know you have some realtor clients, and so you're involved. We met each other through the real estate industry. Are realtors, do you think, susceptible to they're entrepreneurs, and so they have some of the same stresses that anybody building a business is going to have.
Yep, I do have a lot of realtors that train with me. So they do, and they have the stress of like dealing with people, and sometimes it's the highs and the lows. One thing that I know for certain, that no matter who you are, is that you may not want to walk into that workout, but when you leave that workout, you are going to feel better every single time. Every single time there's going to be a shift in here and you will feel better. You'll have clarity here in your mind to where you can go set your intentions. If it's a 7:00 p.m. workout, then set the intentions for the rest of your evening. If you're coming in the morning, then set your intentions for your day. And I don't think that people realize that we have the tools to do that.
Yeah.
We're in charge of that. We can't control the things that happen to us, but we can control how we respond.
Right. Now you've got these different things going on, but you obviously work out all the time. What's your routine look like? How do you spend your day?
Yeah, well, as you know, I have a 14-month-old baby at home, so it's unpredictable. But, I train clients in my morning and I train clients in my evening. And by day, I'm in the lending space. So I'm working with realtors, and then my fiance works at Paramount Equity. So we do that by day. My workouts happen actually most of the time, 99.9% of the time in my garage. I have a place set up there because I can go home and be with the baby, and if he's napping, that's the time that I allot for myself, or I'll go in earlier to the studio and do it.
Any advice? I'm just thinking of advice for women that want to be entrepreneurs. So many times it might even feel like a man's world, but I know it's not. There are so many women that are business owners and extremely gifted in terms of building businesses. Any advice to women out there that are thinking, I want to start my own business, but I don't know if I can do it all?
Yeah, I would just say, write it down. Like, write down what you have in your mind and in your heart and sit on that for a while and write about what that looks like, because there's so much power in vision. And for so long, I thought about it, and then my thoughts also told me fear and reasons why I could not. So my mind was my biggest battle as well. And when I learned to take like tiny steps in the right direction, you can make that happen. You'll start to attract people that are like-minded as well, which I think is so important because they'll start speaking that same language.
What kind of fear did you have?
Fear of failing, I think, after my mom died and feeling that pain, like that heart-wrenching pain of my whole heart was consumed with it, would be the same kind of heart-wrenching pain if I did something with passion and it fell, if it didn't work out. But I've been there, and it's not the same because I learned from it, and I've learned that it also leads me to the next thing. Right? Sometimes I think that this is the way that it should be, and then I get there and it's not. It's not how I imagined it to be, or it was just a step to get me to the next place. But it's hard to say that when you're just starting. My mind didn't think that big at that time, I was so scared of judgment from others and the negativity, and for a long time I let that control my thoughts and what I would and would not do. And now it's like when you take chances, people are watching what you're going to do, and they're going to say things. And, you get to choose what you'll listen to and what you won't.
Yeah, very interesting. So you took that leap, that you had that fear, you took that leap, and now, how long ago was that you started?
Oh, my gosh. Winks Fitness has been going on for about 5 years, but it started on the side. So I do corporate America, and then I would go do this on the side. Then I opened a cafe in Folsom on Sutter Street and did that as I trained. I'm a pro fitness athlete with the World Beauty Fitness and Fashion, and so I compete once a year, and that's regimen when it does that. When you get into the nutritional piece of that, it's mentally straining. It's hard at home because you're just waiting for that next meal sometimes, or that next cardio session, or getting that weight training in. And so when you're trying to fit baby, family, work, it's hard.
That's interesting, because I remember your brand must be associated with these competitions. Like Uriah Faber was our first guest, and his brand is associated with his MMA career, and your brand, I take it, is associated with your competitions as well. So you are actually helping your businesses by going out and doing your competing.
Absolutely. You have to stay on the forefront and stay within those connections in that world as well. And so that's why I do compete and keep my name recognizable. The World Beauty, Fitness, and Fashion industry is something that's worldwide. So I think big, and why would I not want to be competing with people like Vegas next month? People come, there was 34 countries last year. Why would you not want to be standing on stage with 34 other countries when you're getting ready to do big things?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're handshaking these people, they get to know you, and it's not that hard from a social perspective with social media to get that social viral going.
Very good. We are here with Jessica Wink, as we like to call her. And you know what? If you're not inspired by her ambition and what she's doing, then I'm thinking maybe you don't have a pulse. Very, very cool story. We're going to be back with some closing thoughts in just a minute. I'm Mark Haney. You are listening to Entrepreneurs Unlimited on KHTK Sports 1140 and HaneyBiz.com.
Welcome back to Entrepreneurs Unlimited with Mark Haney on KHTK Sports 1140 and HaneyBiz.com. Brought to you in part by Haney Garcia Realty and Placer Concrete and Construction. Once again, here's Mark.
Closing thoughts. Great show. Want to thank Jessica Wink and our region builder, CEO Josh Wood. Very informative. I want to thank our sponsors, Doug Esposito of Owen Dunn Insurance, James Beckwith and Jason Hartman of Five Star Bank, Richard Botkin and Clay Evans of Stifel Financial, Michelle Halston, the law offices of Greenberg and Trorick, and Tom Candress of Package One, my good buddy. He makes boxes, displays, anything you want out of corrugated material. It's not cardboard. It's corrugated material. And he does all kinds of stuff in the manufacturing world and saving the planet one box at a time. And Kim Silvers of Silvers HR. Next week, we have an all-star lineup. We have the former assistant press secretary of Ronald Reagan, who has a communications business. Mr. Doug Elmitz will be here with sharing his views on communication and crisis management and the best way to spin a tough situation. And we'll have one of my business partners will be on the show with us, Todd Flowers, the president and CEO of SSI, Surveillance Systems Integration. He's going to share his story of all the great things they do in helping keep casinos safe. And as the song comes on, I think about my family. Every week I wear a shirt that represents who I care about. It was Torque and Uriah Faber, and last week it was the Republic and Kevin Nagel. And today I've got Haney Garcia Realty Group shirt on for my daughter who runs that, and for my son, my Wounded Warrior Project shirt, which is my uniform because of his commitment and service and the sacrifices he's made for our country. I'm Mark Haney. God bless America, and thanks for listening to Entrepreneurs Unlimited.